Well, hello, beautiful people. How we doing today? We are back at it, back again. We are talking about Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, and I am so excited to get back in. We are deep now into chapter. What is it? Chapter 4. Part 3, and drifting with the devil. And one of the things I just wanted to go over because I didn't get a chance to do it last time because I know that we want to keep these videos as short, within a short distance. And of course, if you guys have noticed, there is a playlist now. So if you go there, you can actually follow these. So as I'm releasing them, they will be in the playlist so that you can actually see them. But one of the things that really stood out that I wanted to discuss really quick, the devil really says, I cause people to allow me to do their thinking for them because they are too lazy and too indifferent to think for themselves. So basically, he's saying laziness plus indifference equals procrastination, which ultimately leads to drifting. And this is so huge. I mean, just understanding that, like, all of those times, and I know you guys have done it because I've done it all the time. I mean, again, like, just even sometimes when it's like, I want to go out and do something, that idea of just being innately wanting to be lazy all the time is what's causing us to ultimately drift, and how we need to take back that self control. Um, and why it is so important for us to have this single level of awareness, and and just not let our minds wander. I mean, we want to have imagination. Don't get us wrong, right? That's not what he's saying at all. But we're controlling our imagination, not just drifting, not just being an autopilot. So I thought that was very profound. And, this is something that, I mean, all this stuff is carrying that is just amazing what is being told here. So I wanted to, keep this going. I hope you guys are really enjoying this. I'm seeing a lot of comments and people talking, and so let's continue to get some traction and understanding of what you guys are liking, what you guys want to see more of, because we're going to do this whole book. We're going to do this whole book, and it's going to be exciting. But if you guys are wanting to do this a different, certain type of way, give me the feedback. I'd love to hear it. But it's so far it seems very positive and resounding. So I thank you guys for that. And let's go ahead and get back into it, and then we'll discuss at the end. And I'm just going to go ahead and get all this set up here. Just give me 1 second. All right, I think we're ready here. So let's just go ahead and cue this up. There we go. All right, and then let's just get the audio going. Boom, there we go.
I assume from what you say that you do not claim fellowship with the industrial leaders. Evidently, they are not friends of yours? Friends of mine. I'll tell you what sort of friends of mine they are. They have belted the entire country with good roads, thus bringing into close communion the people of both city and country. They have converted ores into steel, with which they have built the skeletons of great skyscrapers. They have harnessed electrical power and converted it into 1,000 uses, all designed to give man time to think. They have provided, through the automobile, personal transportation to the humblest citizen, thus giving to everyone the freedom of travel. They have provided every home with instantaneous news of what is happening in all parts of the world through the aid of the radio.
And now television, smartphone, satellite, and internet.
They have reared libraries in every city, town, and hamlet, and have filled them with books, giving to all who read a complete outline of the most useful knowledge mankind has gathered from his experiences. They have given the humblest citizen the right to express his own opinion on any subject, at any time, anywhere, without fear of molestation. And they have seen to it that every citizen may help make his own laws, levy his own taxes, and manage his own country through the ballot. These are but some of the things the industrial leaders have done to give every citizen the privilege of becoming a non-drifter. Do you think these men have helped my cause?
Who are some of the present-day non-drifters over whom you have no control?
I have control over no non-drifter, present or past. I control the weak, not those who think for themselves.
Go ahead and describe a typical drifter. Give your description point by point so I can recognize a drifter when I see him.
The first thing you will notice about a drifter is his total lack of a major purpose in life. He will be conspicuous by his lack of self-confidence. He will never accomplish anything requiring thought and effort. He spends all he earns and more, too, if he can get credit. He will be sick or ailing from some real or imaginary cause, and calling to high heaven if he suffers the least physical pain. He will have little or no imagination. He will lack enthusiasm and initiative to begin anything he is not forced to undertake. And he will plainly express his weakness by taking the line of least resistance whenever he can do so. He will be ill-tempered and lacking in control over his emotions. His personality will be without magnetism, and it will not attract other people. He will have opinions on everything but accurate knowledge of nothing. He may be jack of all trades, but good at none. He will neglect to cooperate with those around him, even those on whom he must depend for food and shelter. He will make the same mistake over and over again, never profiting by failure. He will be narrow-minded and intolerant on all subjects, ready to crucify those who may disagree with him. He will expect everything of others, but be willing to give little or nothing in return. He may begin many things, but he will complete nothing. He will be loud in his condemnation of his government, but he will never tell you definitely how it can be improved. He will never reach decisions on anything if he can avoid it, and if he is forced to decide, he will reverse himself at the first opportunity. He will eat too much and exercise too little. He will take a drink of liquor if someone else will pay for it. He will gamble if he can do it on the cuff. He will criticize others who are succeeding in their chosen calling. In brief, the drifter will work harder to get out of thinking than most others work in earning a good living. He will tell a lie rather than admit his ignorance on any subject. If he works for others, he will criticize them to their backs and flatter them to their faces.
You have given me a graphic description of the drifter. Please now describe the non-drifter so that I may recognize him on sight.
The first sign of a non-drifter is this. He is always engaged in doing something definite, through some well-organized plan which is definite. He has a major goal in life toward which he is always working, and many minor goals, all of which lead toward his central scheme. The tone of his voice, the quickness of his step, the sparkle in his eyes, the quickness of his decisions clearly mark him as a person who knows exactly what he wants and is determined to get it, no matter how long it may take, or what price he must pay. If you ask him questions, he gives you direct answers and never falls back on evasions or resorts to subterfuge. He extends many favors to others, but accepts favors sparingly, or not at all. He will be found up front, whether he is playing a game or fighting a war. If he does not know the answers, he will say so, frankly. He has a good memory, never offers an alibi for his shortcomings. He never blames others for his mistakes, no matter if they deserve the blame. He used to be known as a go-getter, but in modern times he is called a go-giver. You will find him running the biggest business in town, living on the best street, driving the best automobile, and making his presence felt wherever he happens to be. He is an inspiration to all who come into contact with his mind. The major distinguishing feature of the non-drifter is this. He has a mind of his own and uses it for all purposes.
Can you think of someone you know who fits this description? Is that person a non-drifter?
Is the non-drifter born with some mental, physical, or spiritual advantage not available to the drifter?
No. The major difference between the drifter and the non-drifter is something equally available to both. It is simply the prerogative right of each to use his own mind and think for himself.
What brief message would you send to the typical drifter if you wished to cure him of this evil habit?
I would admonish him to wake up and give.
Give what?
Some form of service useful to as many people as possible.
So the non-drifter is supposed to give, is he?
Yes, if he expects to get. And he must give before he gets.
Some people doubt that you exist.
I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. Those who are ready to be converted from the habit of drifting will recognize the authenticity of this interview by its soundness of counsel. The others are not worth the trouble it would take to convert them.
Why do you not try to stop me from publishing this confession I'm wringing from you?
Because that would be the surest of all ways to guarantee you will publish it. I have a better plan than trying to suppress publication of my confession. I will urge you to go ahead with the publication, then sit back and watch you suffer when some of my faithful drifters begin to make things hot for you. I will not need to deny your story. My followers will do that for me. See if they don't.
Knowing that indeed this book was not published for more than 70 years after Hill wrote these words, I am intrigued and anxious to learn what else he will reveal. There are plenty of fireworks still ahead.
Wow.
Chapter
All
5.
right, let's stop right there. Let's go ahead and get back here. Okay. Wow. This is something else, man. I gotta tell you. There's a lot to uncover there. I hope you guys are really listening in on the drifting part and what it takes to be a non-drifter. And ultimately, I think this is kind of what led me to want to do this. On top of that, just because we're all victims or can be victims of drifting if we're not careful. And that's just an honest statement. But I know the people that are watching this, including myself, we're not, right? Because we're doing the things that's going to keep us from drifting away, and letting the devil take over our power. So I'm really thrilled and excited for you guys and this journey that we have going along here. It is such an exciting thing, and I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am and offering this to you. Just to kind of recap, and those words at the end of him talking about, how Napoleon Hill was going to suffer. I mean, the fact that this book wasn't written, was never published, but 70 years, right? So again, that timeline, Napoleon Hill died in the 1940s. His wife said, no, we're not publishing this book. And then gave it to his, I think, a sister as she was dying. Her husband, the sister's husband, read the book, or aunt or something like that, read the book. They also said in the beginning, no, we're not going to publish this right away. We don't have anything to do with it. Finally, when the Napoleon Hill Foundation started to come about, and people from the Napoleon Hill family really started to build on this, to build up his legacy, because Think and Grow Rich had done so well. This is when Sharon Leckler eventually got a hold of the book from the sister. They gave it to him as they were getting ready to pass. And then it took over, I think, 10 years still for the book to publish, just because they had to do all the publishing and everything. So this book didn't come out till 2012. And luckily for me, I was actually one of the few that heard about this book. And because I had been following all this stuff, and like I said, I've been doing personal growth for over close to 20 years now. And, just really diving deep at times into, I think this is probably the most I've ever been committed to this work. And it really shows, and it really shows, where I am right now with all of this. But this book is just so personal, and it is so relevant. I know that Sharon, she wanted to keep the wording intended the way that it was originally written. And unfortunately, back in those times, everything was written very from a male perspective. But this is all universal, right? We've all realized that we're all human beings. There is no, up and down and equal. We're all equal when it comes to male and female. And so even though he's saying he all the time, that's just with the times. We can say humans at this point, because it doesn't matter male or female. I think this is very universal. We know that this is very universal. So don't let that, dissuade you in any ways. That was just what the times were back then. There was a lot of racism going back then. So I'm pretty sure, people of color wouldn't have had access to this kind of information. So here we are. Right. I don't take it personal, and I don't think anybody else should too. From that standpoint, the message is clear, the message is there, and that's what we want to focus on. So I'm going to leave it at that. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day or evening, whatever time zone you're watching this. And until next time, you guys make it a great day. Take care.